Call to order the City Council work session for the City of East Grand Forks for Tuesday, February 9th, 2020 is now 5 o'clock. Would the City Clerk please call roll?
Mayor Seaman.
Here.
Council President Mark Holstead.
Here.
Council Vice President Emery.
Here.
Council Members Clarence Sutter.
Here.
Dale Helms.
Here.
Tim Johnson.
Here.
Mark Mers.
Present.
Brian Larson.
Here.
Does term quorum. First, before we move on to the agenda, we're going to have a presentation by Mr. Helms and Mr. Gordy.
Come with you, Dale?
Yes. Mr. Johnson, being you didn't make the ADA meeting today, you were busy. I'd like to present you with this plaque for your service to the EDA board. On behalf of Mr. Larson and myself, Mr. Larson being your replacement on the board, looking forward to working with the EDA and whatever, and we appreciate your business.
Thank you very much. It was a pleasure. Privilege.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Paul. Thanks for putting up with me.
No problem.
Okay, we move on to number 1 on the agenda. Consider school proposal of welcoming communities assessment. I think we have Suraya Driscoll, and we also have DECA's on here also. So, Suraya.
Thank you. Good evening, everybody. Decca and I are really excited to chat with you folks tonight. Thanks for having us. As you know, I guess it was a couple years ago, we were working on putting together an opportunity for looking at how as a community we were handling the new immigration movement into the community. And so we had several cross sectors across the community come together and work and look and visit and brainstorm about what some ideas were that we could try and work on to provide some opportunities as a community to be welcoming. And we had written a Community Thrive grant. We must have been darn close because the extension agency reached back out to us with the Northwest Minnesota Foundation for us to explore a welcoming community again. And so we have a little PowerPoint to share with you, Decca and I do, and Decca's got some great things to share about what she does. So I'm just going to quick share my screen here. And please feel free to ask any questions along the way. We're happy to answer any. So we're proposing tonight to do a welcoming community assessment for the city of East Grand Forks, and with a projected start date of March 1st and a completion date of October 29th, 2021. So this is a lengthy little process for us to go through. So before I start, I just want you guys to think about if you know who this person is or not. Okay, this is a person, he's from Iowa, very influential person in the United States. Made over 8 billion touch points in the United States. And this is George Gallup. So I know you've all heard of the Gallup poll before, right? And you know what I love about his stance is that, you know, George's stance was that if democracy is supposed to be the will of the people, then darn it, we should be listening to see and hear what all the people have to say to promote that democracy. So their company, as they've grown and since George has passed and his sons have taken over Gallup, they really focus on what is it that how people think and feel. And in education, one of the things we know that has been, through all the changes we've gone through with the diverseness and addressing different things, the one thing that stands always is that if we truly care, if a teacher truly cares, or an administrator or anyone in the school system really cares about that child being successful, they usually are. And so that also has transposed over to community. So if we as a community love and welcome everyone and care deeply, those communities seem to be really successful. So I keep going back to our brand. I love our brand in East Grand Forks, Life Connected. It just fits beautifully in with the East Grand Forks Public Schools mission statement for us to empower learners to contribute and succeed in a diverse and changing world. And we know as a community, we have many moving parts, and we have lots of diverseness within our community. And I just want Decca to share what she does and the work she's committed to and some of the history around this welcoming community, because Decca really has spearheaded all this work. So Decca, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for your time. And some of you, very nice meeting you first time. My name is Decca Ali. I'm a part of the member of the East Grand Forks Public School and the community. I came to East Grand Forks 2016. Started with the school right away. If I say I'm going to start, it's going to take a long time. So I'm going to do it really quick. We started the relationship, building a beautiful bridge between our community with the school. We started with knocking door by door, like almost 350 families. I visit with Somali families and Arabic families, and I work with them. I don't only work with Somali families. I work all new American coming and welcome them. So every day my job is that first enrolling families to the school and that welcome them. So what I do is that when the families are new and arrive East Grand Forks, I show them around. I take them to the grocery, and I'm trying to show them what they need, the housing, hospital, trying to interpret for them, enroll into the doctors, and basically and educate them, the families around our school, and set up appointments so they can meet with the principals and where the kids are going to go to school, and basically drive with them and take them. Let's see if they have high schoolers and middle schools and elementaries, which is the elementaries and middle school kind of South Point, and middle school kind of a little bit far from New Heights. So I'm trying to show them around and set up for conferences for them when it's the conferences time. Suraya and I used to meet with families monthly, so we kind of do a family education with them. What else? Visit homes with them. When the COVID-19 happened, we were having a big time because the school were enrolling online, and some families were not familiar with the technology. To be honest with you, some of them were really hard how to turn on the light. So it was my job, and Suraya and I get connected with those families and educate them through the video so the kids can get same opportunity as other kids. If they need a tutor, we were there, especially sometimes until we work midnight that time, so we can record videos for the family. What will be the class assignment the next morning for their families? Engaging between the teachers and the parent, making the relationship day by day. So usually day by day, I meet with families, either 6 or 7 of them, whatever they need is, whether it's a doctor appointment, whether it's a housing, whether it's a job relating, whether it's they talk about their kids, how to support them, engage them with basic tutoring. We did that. We partnership with Global Friends so kids can get an opportunity to get help in the UND student to come over at the senior high. Help them submit an application when they arrive if they need a housing assistant, which is a Section 8, so which is the HR will help them support them pay their rent. So I submit the application for them, and if they have a rotation, I basically go with them and help them support whatever. And with that, if they need to support that, and if they have a doctor appointments that are related to the school, which is kind of confidentiality is very important. So I'm not going to say a lot of stuff in here, but so I basically, that's my job day by day. What else did I left, Suraya?
Well, I'll just tell you, she's a miracle worker. That's all I'm going to say. Decca works really hard, and I'm just going to toot her horn a little bit because she's been reached out by the Twin Cities area to come and do some training for for their liaisons. So we've got a really nice model going here, and we've actually built that out to add more success coaches like DECA so that we can support support our families as we work on inclusion and equity in the school system. So diversity and inclusion, when we think about this with the welcoming community, right, we're going to look for what are our strengths and our successes that we're having in East Grand Forks across several sectors, which I'll get into here in just a minute. And then we're also going to look for our gaps and our falls, and what are the things that we could do better. And I can tell you, we've been working at this for quite a while, and we know we have a long ways to go yet as a school system. So we're anxious to bring our stakeholders in and learn more about what we could do better as well. And so diversity and inclusion for this purpose with the welcoming community, there's a discussion around immigrants and race, but it's not just that. Those things have a cross-sector across all diverseness of our community. Age, disability status, socioeconomic status, religious beliefs, gender, sexual orientation. Those are all things that collide together and intersect when we're talking about a community and the complexities of it. And so what happens in this community assessment is each sector will find groups of people that interact with the sector, who work in the sector, who have longevity in the community, who are new to the community. And those people will come together, and the Extension Agency, the University of Minnesota Extension Agency, will work through this assessment with these groups. So which sectors of the community are going to come together? Well, it'll be local government, law enforcement, healthcare, the school system, religious organizations, business and the chamber, and nonprofit organizations. And from that, we'll create a steering committee, and that steering committee will work together with Extension, and we'll set goals and put a plan together for East Grand Forks that fits us for what we need. And then we're going to apply for some grant funding, and I'll talk a little bit about that to support the overall cause here. So some members we've reached out to in the community as far as putting a stakeholder group together. I've listed those folks here for you to take a glance at. And what each of those people will do is they will reach out to the community and then filter that down so that we get a nice cross-section of our community represented at the table. And then as we sit and we go through the process of the assessment, once we get the group established and we have representatives from each of the sectors there'll be 8 pieces that each sector will go through. We'll talk about awareness. We'll answer some questions around awareness. What is our awareness and importance of inclusion? We'll talk about engagement. What's the engagement of diverse groups in our community? And what are the resources available in each sector for inclusion? We'll talk about leadership. What's the energy to promote this in the community? Power sharing. Are we sharing our power across these sectors to make good decisions? And policies and practices. What are our policies and practices, and are they helping or are they hindering us promoting inclusion within our community? So once we get done with that group of people, they'll meet 2 times. So the first time will be to do the assessment. The second time will be they'll come together, and the Extension Agency will take all that information and put it together for us, and we'll get a chart so we can look at each of those sectors that and their dimensions for inclusion and where they kind of rank. So this is an example. They did this in Brown County. They did it with 3 communities in Brown County. They did it with New Ulm. They did it with Springfield, and there was one other town. And they ended up getting a overall look because they had brought 3 communities together, and then each community got their own report. So it really gives you a nice just glance to say, okay, where are we? And then what are some ideas and opportunities? So like I said, when we're done, that group will get this executive summary, and it looks something like this on this table. And then at the bottom, there's this room for discussion of where do we go from here? So it's great to do an assessment, but now what are we going to do with it as a community to further this, if this is what if we have this readiness to move forward? And we'll set some goals as a community then, and sectors will set goals, and it may be intersecting goals so that we're supporting each other through this. And that's kind of the assessment in itself and the process. And like I had mentioned earlier, I would talk a little bit about the process for funding this whole thing. And the University of Minnesota Extension and the Northwest Minnesota Foundation had reached back out to the community, and DECA was on that call, as well as Abdi was on that call. And they talked about there's an opportunity, and it's actually due on January 14th, but they are allowing us to roll this along as a community if we decide this is where we want to go, so that together we could create that grant opportunity to support it. They were very excited about East Grand Forks wanting to move this way, and sounded very excited to be able to support us. So with that, that's kind of what we've got. DECA, did I miss anything?
I just want to say that if this wheel is going to roll, this is an opportunity for everyone. It's not only opportunity for one individual community, not only Somali community, as whole community, because as East Grand Forks community, we are one family, small village, that one family. No matter what background and what individual belief we have, the end of the day, we all are family, and we should have it where all our family get connected with and educated each other and get to know each other and support each other as one, and created our kids for ready in the future so they can be a better community who will change us tomorrow, which is like my Sana. When she grow up, I want her to be able to know that East Grand Forks is her home and it's the future. And this center will help and support all of our kids in the future, and see as we always going to impact in one community as one piece of pie, that I say that all the time. And if one is missing, the other one is not complete. So as a community, we complete each other, and we should support each other, and we should have a center where that every individual who's going through something have a place they can go, and they know that there's a people who will guide them, there's a people who will support them, and there's a people and there for them. So this is the vision that we've been dreaming and having as a one community. And I always say that the small village that is East Grand Forks, greater East Grand Forks, is one. We all one, no matter what, whether I'm wearing a hijab or you're not. I'm you part of your community, and you are part of my community, and I should support you 100%, and we should support each other as community, and our kids should be included in one center that they can learn from each other.
So if you have any questions, we'd be...
Yes, Suraya, this is Mark Olstead.
Hi, Mark.
A couple questions I do have. I see that you're asking for our support and participation in that, and I guess maybe kind of elaborate more what the city's participation and then responsibilities going forward with the meetings, and then also down the road, once we get back, let's say the information we get back, what do you foresee the city's involvement and time and resources on our end, working with the school and the rest of them, how would you see that?
Sure. So moving forward, Mark, I've been trying to put this, I'll be trying to work with all these sectors to put the steering committee together, and I've done some reach out already. I'll be taking the time to put, organize it and doing the communications. It'll really be just the participation part upon the city, and to help find stakeholders who interact with the city, who work for the city, who have longevity within the city, and who are, so we have a diverse group at the table. So that would be the first, responsibility that we are asking for from the city. The second, moving forward, as far as resource, I think that's what this process is about, is they'll help us find resources to help support us through this. You will find, I'm sure, that we have gaps where resources aren't there, and then how are we going to fill those gaps in? That's part of the process, Mark. So I don't think we're asking fiscally right now for a commitment from the city to set money aside right now at this time.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am. Mayor Gander.
Suraya, thank you so much for all the work that you put into this. The persistence that you and this group have shown, it started several years ago. We used to meet around this table, and all the players, quality people, working hard to make this happen. And I think it is a little bit like trying to get a big, massive stone flywheel to start to spin. You lean into it and it moves an inch, and then you lean into it and it moves, 6 months later it moves a foot. But over the time, it might take years, and pretty soon that thing starts to go. And so I really appreciate the fact that you just will not let this die. It gets a little bit dormant for some months. Probably COVID also distracted everybody, and really we had other priorities. And now you're getting back to it. And I think it's very, very important. Decca, I love your story. I love that you've come to this country and you've come through a program similar to this to get to where you are. A great resource in our schools, bilingual, fully understanding both cultures, probably learning every day more and more. And I love every time you speak to an issue like this, Decca, you say, this is for everyone. Right? If we carve out for one small subset and just reach out and nurture that group but do nothing else, we have failed. I've heard you say something like that in some form probably 20 times in the last 3-4 years. I know that is your heart. It is mine also, that we want to come together, we want to share culturally, even as the refugees are learning to speak and write and mathematics and all, for job readiness and for cultural exchange and all of that. It's probably okay that, Suraya, you left me off of this group because things get kind of busy, and I think you have some really good folks on here. But you have my full support, right? And
yes.
Whatever you need for this effort that I could bring, I'm on board. And so I just want to encourage you all to take it on to that next step as we build trust. I mean, we're all building trust even inside this community along with everything else. So thanks, you guys. Keep it up.
Thank you. Thank you for your time, everybody.
Anybody else have any questions for Suraya? Mr. Helms.
Suraya, just to put on record, I will commit to sitting on that and hopefully bringing something to the table along with Paul. So just so you know.
Thank you, Dale. We appreciate it.
Anybody else have anything? Any questions? I see none, ma'am. Thank you so much. Thank both of you.
Everybody.
Have a good night.
Yep.
We'll move on to number 2, request and file plans and specifications for Safe Routes to School project. Mr. Emery.
Thank you, Mr. President. Good evening, Council. I think as everyone's aware, we've been working on plans and specs for our 2021 Safe Routes to School sidewalk project. Just kind of as a reminder, that project would include the addition of sidewalk on 13th Street, on the south side of 13th Street, southeast from 17th to 20th. Then along the north side of 13th, between 19th and 20th Avenue. and then running north along the east side of 20th Avenue between 13th Street and 10th Street Northeast. So we've completed plans. We've gone through all the plan review through MnDOT, and actually we've been approved by MnDOT to proceed with advertising of the project. So just looking to file the plans and specs with the council, setting a bid date for 10 a.m. on March 16th of 2021. And then just need your guys' approval to, I guess, proceed with advertising of the project to receive bids.
Anybody have any
I think that's
questions? Mr. Demers. Sorry.
Hey, Mr. President, just wondering, I know the school is looking at some parking lot.
His microphone must be off.
Sorry about that, Steve. I know the school's looking at doing some parking lot improvements, I believe, at all their schools. How will this be scheduled with that?
That's something we're going to have to coordinate, and I do have some language in the specifications in regards to that project and the contractor having to, coordinate their work with the school district contractor. So that's something we're just going to have to monitor closely as we, start our work along 13th, just to make sure that we're all on the same page as far as what needs to be done, and, just coordinating the two efforts.
Thank you. What do you have for the final completion date?
I believe right now, Mark, I have in there August 15th.
Okay.
Anybody else have any questions? See none, sir.
Thank you.
Move on to the next one. Consider bid results for 2021 City Project Number 1 for the ADA improvements. Mr. Emery.
Thank you again, Mr. President. So we received quotes for the 2021 ADA improvement project on February 3rd. We did send out the project to 4 potential contractors. We did receive quotes back from 3 of them. Again, the project was broken into 4 different proposals, but it was set up where, the project would be awarded to one general contractor. I did put in the RCA kind of a description of the 4 different areas. So I don't think I need to probably go through those individually, but so in kind of reviewing, I guess, the bid results, I think we did receive very good competitive bids. Proposal number 1, you can see there the low bid was $56,403. My estimate on that proposal is $56,953.50. So pretty much right where we expected it. Proposal 2. Again, we had a low bid of $14,393. My estimate was $14,885, so very close. And you can see even the second place bid there was $20,081. So, I think again we got a very good price on proposal 2 there. Proposal 3. Estimate of $9,993. Again, my estimate on that one was about $12,412.50. So, and again, looking at the second bid at $15,545. Again, got very good bids for that proposal. And then proposal 4. Low bid was $53,019.50. My estimate was $53,050. Again, got a gap of about $6,000 between first and second. So again, very, very good bids. As you kind of recall, the city does have a ADA transition plan that we're trying to, kind of do some work every year is kind of our goal. And if you remember last year, just with timing and everything, when we were able to get those plans and specs out, we did receive quotes last year. quotes came in high, so the council, rejected them. So the only thing we ended up doing kind of at the end of the year last year is Nancy needed to get a bus shelter in over on 3rd Avenue Northwest. So we did do that, which was probably, if it was the bus shelter and a little bit of sidewalk work, maybe $8,000 worth of work. So other than that, we didn't complete any ADA work last year. So I've had discussion with staff, discussion with Carla for financing and stuff. Again, the funds for this work would come out of state aid maintenance, which right now we do have a good balance in that account. So our recommendation would be to award proposals 1 through 4. The low bidder would be Tony Anderson Construction, and his bid for the 3 proposals would be $142,692.50. I guess that's what we'd be recommending, and I will open it up for any questions you may have.
Anybody have any questions for Mr. Emery? See none, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we'll move on to number 4, request to purchase pickup for fire department. Chief Boushee.
Thank you, Mr. President and Council. Yes, fire department is requesting to purchase a new pickup. This pickup would replace our 424, which is a 1986 pickup. This has been a good pickup, but it's time to cut our ties with it. Our city mechanics have informed me that they can no longer get parts for this vehicle. And we're having some electrical issues with it. So with that, this project was included in 2021 capital improvements, and we came in a little bit under budget on it, and my recommendation is that you approve the purchase of this pickup.
You may have any questions for Chief. Mr. Demers.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just one question on the striping quote.
I can't hear.
Sorry. On the striping quote, was there only one quote received or solicited, or?
Yes, it was just one quote. We have used him for a lot of our stuff, and he's been very reliable, and he's been very good to us.
Okay, well, we should probably just, for future, we should get more than one, I believe. There's more than one striper in town, so, and he's not in town either, so, thank you.
Mr. Helms.
Chief Boushee, how many pickups does the fire department have?
We have 4 right now. I have a replacement plan to get down to 3 pickups and 1 Suburban. And the replacement would be a 20-year replacement. So I'd be looking at every 5th year replacing one of our support vehicles.
I guess where I was going, I was trying to figure out which vehicle this is. So I've seen that white one running around a little bit lately. That must be a newer one, isn't it?
We got 2 white ones. This one is a 1986 2-door. This one we used to use a snowplow on it, and it was also our grass rig. It's got an 8-foot box, so it can be used as our grass rig as well. But yeah, it's a 2-door.
And is your plan to trade it in, or just put it on the auction down the road, or?
This particular pickup is a loaner from the DNR, and it would go back to the DNR.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Anybody else have any questions for Chief?
I noticed it's got an extended service contract. That's unbelievable. 7 years, 75,000 mile bumper to bumper. I don't know why we don't get more of those. Unbelievable.
That I spoke with our mechanics and about that issue, and we all kind of came to the conclusion that we would not purchase that.
Oh, well, I was all for it.
I could add it.
Anybody else have any questions? I see none, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Move on, number 5, consider resolution supporting local government aid funding. Mr. Murphy.
Thank you, Council President. This came as a request from the Coalition of Greater Minnesota Cities. They're asking all of their cities to pass a resolution similar to this. So we have put it into our format, and we will put it on our letterhead paper. And so what this one does is it's asking the legislature to maintain LGA amounts at the current level at a minimum, and where we added it for our particular case is that whereas each $45,000 in reduction for LGA represents a 1% increase in our tax levy to our citizens. So if the council approves, we will have this on the consent agenda at the next council meeting.
Mr. Demers.
Got it this time. Thank you, Mr. President. This is a good resolution that we should indeed pass. Just a note, there are some issues that the coalition is going through right now that are not exactly with this, but are tied to LGA. It's become kind of part of another political fight between the governor and basically the Senate, in which there's a bunch of attempts to tie performance measures, or the latest one is is tying the governor's fund, which public safety fund, and then tying the municipal aid costs of people that, or mutual aid costs of cities that participate in the Chauvin trial, I guess, protection, and tying that to basically Minneapolis's LGA. So if they're going to go after that and send it out to the cities. The coalition's stance right now is just that, we want that LGA bill unencumbered. We don't want to go down that road of tying different type of performance metrics or any of those type of things, because while we may think even that it's a good idea that if we participate in mutual aid that we would be funded out of Minneapolis's, if there's a change in the legislature, who knows what those metrics may be for cities in greater Minnesota. So I would just say, or ask, if we want to look at this resolution, maybe in that last therefore add a line, something to the effect that it should be, unencumbered and without, any other penalties or anything outside of the actual formula. So.
Yeah, there's about, I think, 6 different ones out there.
Yeah.
Tying on.
Senator Weber's bill is the most, is the most concerning. I think most of the other ones are kind of, well, there is one that's actually good for us that would put in the floor, but yeah, Senator Weber's bill, and it's really not about anything more than taking a shot at the governor and that battle that they're having, and the coalition didn't want to get involved in that fight, but it appears that we're going to get dragged into it. So.
I'd be for adding that language in there. So. Mayor.
On the subject of LGA, I think I blew Brian Larson's mind earlier today. He asked for the spreadsheet that we had referred to with Representative Deb Keel, which is somewhat complex. And I emailed it to him, and it has 19 individual parameters that are used to calculate LGA. And those 19 parameters, each one will cause your LGA to go up or down or up or down or up or down just a little bit. And then it runs across and calculates a total on the end. And what we were told by our folks at the coalition each of several successive years is even if the legislature sets aside additional funds for LGA, like they just take the current formula and increase the funding to it, we still go down. And that's a remnant of the 97 flood, all of those older homes that we lost, all those great, value homes that young families could get into. And because of that, our distribution of properties, of residential homes in our community is skewed to the higher end, and that's an artifact that we cannot fix. We did have a legislative fix some years ago that tried to deal with that, to try to at least have us track along, maybe with our neighbors, Thief River and Crookston, and for a while we did track with them, but that legislative fix seems to have broken, and ours are starting to fall again while theirs are still sort of tracking with inflation. So whatever else we do, I know this isn't specifically part of this resolution, but please know we're going to work with our legislators to try to improve that formula, that fix that helps us at least track. Crookston and Thief River are similar populations, similar economics, similar earnings in families, and we should mirror what's happening in those communities with regard to LGA. The reason we don't, once more, is the flood took out all those great starter homes, and we just haven't been able to change that situation. So we're going to have to try to find a way to fix that formula once and for all, because again, they could just keep throwing money at the total bottom line, and if we don't fix how that formula treats us, we're going to keep going down, and which is going to put that load onto our taxpayers. We'll try to fight against that. Thanks.
Anybody else have anything to add? Thank you, sir. Move on to number 6, discussion on utilization of enterprise funds on projects. Mr. Murphy, do you want to start?
Thank you, Council President. Actually, there's 2 items essentially in this particular agenda item that would need to be discussed, and I guess they combine together. The first one is we've been meeting as far as staff, and we met with the mayor on this as well once we got to that point. With the enterprise funds, as far as utilities that are under the city's control, particularly the sewer fund and the stormwater fund, both of those are trending to the point where they're not keeping up. The costs the revenue that we're receiving are not keeping up with the expenses that we are experiencing, particularly the sewer fund. I believe there's a number of reasons for that. Mostly to do with the wastewater that's being shipped over to Grand Forks is of the strength and volume that was not predicted. We are working on correcting that. However, it's not an overly easy fix. So the first part of that of the agenda item tonight then is in the near future we're going to need to take a look at increasing the charges that we send out to the residents for the sewer fund and the stormwater fund on their utility bills to help cover the increasing costs. And the second item for discussion tonight has to do with street reconstruction and replacement of utilities underneath the streets when those are reconstructed. This ties together to a certain degree with the exercise we took last year where we tried to update our assessment policy, and we utilized the example of 20th and 5th Street on the north end, and we were not able to come to a satisfactory conclusion for that. So one of the ideas that has been raised is adding a maintenance, adding some fees adding to the fees that we charge for the sewer and stormwater to the residents to help pay for reconstruction when the streets are redone, that we would utilize that for putting in new mains, new connection points, and then potentially the repair of the portion of the street that would be directly above that. So we are to the point now in those discussions where it should be brought to the council for discussion and get input from the council whether this is something that should be explored further and can be brought back, or if it's something that the council is not interested in. So guess with that, I'll take any questions from the council. I know Carla has been involved with the costs as far as what we would need to maintain our expenses and the revenues to meet the expenses. I know Jason is unfortunately not here tonight, but City Engineer Steve Emery has been involved with that quite a bit as well. So I'll take any questions or.
Mr. Murphy, I just have one question, maybe if you can't answer, is maybe one of the other people that have been involved. On the preliminary estimates on the current cost, and then you have the increases, is that a total of $9 then? Or are you talking about it when a project happens, that you're talking about, or is this every month? $9?
This would be, the way it's put in here together, it would be every month. Because it would be the additional, the $2 for estimated reconstruction for sewer and stormwater would be then, in essence, banked for projects. So it would generate a fund balance for use in projects.
So $9 every month.
That's what the estimate is that we have right now. Yes.
I just wanted to make sure.
Yep.
Okay.
You are correct.
Okay, Mayor.
Thanks, Mr. President. Thanks, Mr. Murphy. Just so everybody's clear, and he said it very well, but.
Mr. Mayor, could you turn on your microphone, please?
Oh, yeah, thanks. Said it very well. Please think of these in the two separate categories. And Carla, thank you for how clearly you spelled this out to us in meetings over the last several weeks. Those on the left side in your sheet that show sewer fund and stormwater, $3 for increasing expenses, $2 for increasing expenses. That's one category because those fund balances are dropping. We're spending more out of those funds than we're taking in, and this would just sustain those funds. Now, we could step back even a little bit from there. I know some on our council have said we don't want to actually put more things on our utility bill. We want to take more things off. So if anyone wants to entertain the conversation of, maybe this shortfall that's going to occur in our sewer fund and stormwater could actually come from another source like general fund. I don't think that's going to work. I don't think we have the cash flow on the general fund to try to do that, but it's at least worth talking about. And so we can sure have that conversation. But again, please know that the 3 and the 2, that would just be to keep those funds solvent so that the revenue coming in would cover the expenses currently committed that are going out. I would want to say just a little bit about now the $4 per month on the right-hand side. Those would be giving us the opportunity to more proactively fund some projects. You can think about the sanitary sewer and the storm sewer. So where it says sewer fund, that's the sanitary sewer fund. Where it says stormwater, that's storm sewer fund. And, the idea is, like Water and Light has done, they've been pretty proactive. They schedule replacement of water mains throughout the year cycle, year after year after year after year, and then stay on top of it. They've identified where their greatest need is at this given time, and they apply the dollars to that. But then if there's a street reconstruction project going on, they can divert those funds to that project for that year. Well, this would create a similar kind of fund for us to be able to do that. We can, and Jason could probably speak to it. It would give us the ability to look ahead, anticipate the needs, and even to dovetail those into other projects. We hear of cases where that same section of street is torn up 3 times in 3 years, and that's getting better. They have utility meetings now where, sewer and water and all the other utilities, gas and all, they're all getting together and coordinating work, which is a really good thing. And so this will take us a little further in that direction. And the last thing I would say is if we can be more proactive, and this I got from Jason, if we can be a little more proactive, for example, on the sanitary sewer side, we're going to have, right now we have some infiltration into our sanitary sewer of groundwater. And so for all the groundwater in high water table situations, all the groundwater coming into our sanitary sewer eventually has to go across and into be processed as sanitary sewer water on the Grand Forks side. And so the volume that we're sending over there really can be handled. I think if we can stop some of that penetration of groundwater into our into our sanitary sewer, and by buttoning that up and staying on top of it, I believe we can save money there. We can save money by not having to tear up streets multiple times. We can actually give better customer service to our residents, because who wants their street torn up needlessly multiple times, whereas you could have coordinated it all together. Thanks.
The other question I do have is, as the mayor was talking, have you looked at, well, let's say you have the storm fund and stormwater, sewer fund, excuse me, and stormwater. If you're having to cover the cost of $5 and that has to go on to the, billing, if you take the $4, did you guys look at what that would be across the board if you put it onto the property tax, what you actually would get? I mean, what total dollar amount per year are you going to generate off that $4? And translate that, if you did it onto the property tax, what that would do to that, percentage-wise?
That would be for Carla. Do you have that number, Carla?
That's why I'm asking. I don't know if you guys ran those numbers or looked at it, the different scenarios, so.
I don't have it off the top of my head, but if you give me a minute, I maybe could figure it out.
You were really close to it at some of our meetings. You had
I think so.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to think here a minute.
Didn't the $2, Carla, didn't it generate like $100,000?
I think it was $1. Yes, it was $1 is 50,000 each.
Yep, that's what I remember now.
So
that you
it'd be,
did it. Yep.
that extra $4 would be $200,000. Thank you.
So, I'm just trying to equate it to what it would be to our property tax levy when we always talk about, we always have the hard cost right away for our, wages and everything else and benefits. And then, we're always talking about being under 5% or less. In the discussion, if you want to put it on to the utility bill, and I'll say it, Mr. Vetter said it publicly numerous times that he'd like to get them off and onto the property tax. So, I guess we really need to take a hard look at it, as if we're going to have it on the property tax or onto the utility bill, what's going to be the beneficial way to do it for the citizens, along with how it's going to benefit the funds to be able to do these projects. So, I see what you're trying to do here, but I just want to make sure that we understand what the difference is to a citizen on the utility bill to the property tax. So,
like one more thing.
Go ahead.
And please know, if we're talking about the rehabilitation of 5th and 20th, I believe we have a way to get that done with or without that $4. I really believe we do. The next time we meet with the neighborhood, Mr. Emery, I believe, will have prepared for us complete replacement, concrete with sidewalks and all, complete replacement with asphalt, and then the limited reconstruction. And we'll be able to present that to the neighbors over there, and including cost estimates for each one, and including what it would show as the assessment rolls, and give them the informed choice of whether they want to circulate the petition and then request to have that work done. So please know, I honestly believe we have a way forward with or without this. And so if now we decide is not the time to add that $4 to the utility bill for some more proactive work on our sewer systems, it's okay. Because I really do believe that 5th and 20th can go forward with or without that. It's just going to be a question of, will we maybe have to take it up again if the utilities fail under there after the street is all replaced. So that would be the main factor. We do have some storm sewer failure, as everybody knows. Right where 5th comes into 20th, the storm sewer catch basins are starting to fail, and the road is caving in a couple of places. Well, it's all the same age, and it's going to just kind of leapfrog down the way. And so Jason will take a good look at that with Steve Emery, and they'll come up with a proposal. But please know, I don't see that this is going to hamstring the effort to get that work done either way. Thanks.
The other question to come off of this is going to be, I'm assuming you're looking at wanting to put the sewer fund $3 and the stormwater $2 on the bill going forward. So the real question is do we want to do the $4? Am I hearing you right, that we have probably have to do the $5? Carla?
Yes, and that's because, I guess a little history is that we increased the fixed rate, and it started October 1st of 2013. And we increased that rate, that was the last time we had the increase, because I think we had a couple of different increases, and that was anticipation for the internet connection so that it wouldn't go up immediately, drastically once the project was done. So we did that, and then with our estimates, as David said, the COSA came out a little higher than we expected, and so by law we have to have a fund balance of at least 35%, and so we have a spreadsheet going of when that would happen, and so that's why we increased the fixed rate by $3, so we can cover increases, inflation, and then just minor repairs that we have with sewer and stormwater every year.
This is throughout the city. It's not just connected to the interconnect, correct?
Correct. It's throughout the whole city.
Let's not get that out there that this is because of the interconnect, please.
No. I'm just saying that was why we increased the fee. Was we knew we had that project.
I just wanted to clarify. I'm not saying I just want that out there because.
No, and I guess I will say is with it being sent over, I don't want to get too far into the weeds of it, but we did have a couple of scenarios happen that were unforeseen and that changed our strength and our volume above what our estimates are. So going back to the COSA and the one thing that would be good to point out is that actually the price that we're paying per 1,000 gallons is actually lower than what was projected at that particular time. And what changed is the strength and the volume, and it was due to a couple different reasons. Inflow and infiltration. We had two that year with two major flood events that just flooded our system, and we believe we have identified where the extra strength is coming from. So we are working on doing that. So. I don't want to get too far off, of course, but that is part of what has been changing what our cost estimates were.
So if we move forward and have discussions on the $4, when is the resolution going to come forth for the additional, for the utility bill then, for the $5? Well,
can I don't want to jump in anybody's toes here, but I guess I can answer that. I guess we were waiting to see what the council as a whole thought about both of those. So I guess.
Well, either way, you're going to have. That's why I'm asking if you're going to do the $5. I'm assuming you anticipated that going forward with $5, no matter what.
Yes, we were going to. Yeah, we wanted to get some input from the council on that, and then bring that forward here. Within the next few meetings, if possible. The $4 that could wait. That's not as urgent as the $5, but we'd like to move it. I would say by March, hopefully.
Okay, thank you.
One more thing.
Yes, Carla.
Oh, sorry. I just wanted to mention that $4 to do those improvements would be about the same as a 2% increase in our levy.
Mr. Demers.
Thank you, Mr. President. Going forward, if Public Works thinks that we need to increase the rates, I don't think we need to go ahead and retain AE2S to do a full rate study, but I would expect something a little less slapdash than we're just going to throw out $5. So I would expect, a sound justification for what those rates are, and then how they project into the future. I would also include the cost and effect of a proper I&I program, because I know that there's some ground issues that were caused by flooding this year or in the last years, but I do know that we do have some significant I&I problems, and that those or some industrial I&I problems that need to be taken care of, and we need to get that implemented before I want to go forward and just start assessing all the residents of the East Grand Forks for increased costs to that that treatment. As far as reconstruction, like I said, if you want to raise the rates, put forth a detailed proposal about what you're doing, what it's going to get you, how long it's going to get that for, and what we should expect. Thank you.
And I guess, Mr. President, if I may, I can answer that. I agree with Councilmember Demers' points on that. And again, what we wanted to do is before we kind of invested that kind of time and effort into it, we wanted to get some feedback from the council. We've met with staff. We've discussed this with the mayor, but we wanted to get input from the council before we would put that kind of effort into it. So,
anybody else have any questions? Mr. Demers.
Thank you. And I guess my point is if we're running into fund balance issues because of rate structure or increased need, I have every confidence that Jason knows what he's doing and that he can put together that type of proposal. Put it together and let us look at it. Don't, whatever. If this is a backhanded way of trying to pay for streets through a different enterprise fund, I guess we'll have to take a look at what those rate increases are and deal with it then. I won't vote for a backhanded way of getting streets done with different enterprise fees. I know there's issues about how you can raise money for streets, but to me, it just, when you add that level of complexity or another angle into it, it just causes more trouble down the road, because people think that it's for one thing and you're paying for another, and other people think, well, why don't we just raid this for this? It just causes more trouble. I probably won't vote for adding street reconstruction unless it's very narrowly defined. Thank you.
Mayor.
To that point, the reason it comes up now in the middle of a street reconstruction project conversation is we're back to just the coordination of it, right? If we're going to do a paving project, if we're going to do probably a water main through there, it's all about coordinating and looking at obsolete infrastructure under new pavement. So it's really just a matter of good coordination, more so than a roundabout sneaky, did I say roundabout? A sneaky way of trying to fund the streets through a utility fund. This is not that. In fact, the vast majority of times, this additional increment, if it were approved, would not be used in conjunction with a street reconstruction project. We're going to do one of those probably every 5 or 10 years, a street reconstruction project, but this revenue stream would be used to get ahead of maintenance on our sewer system. So those funds would be spent annually, kind of like what Water and Light does. They have scheduled maintenance over here, which they would be able to move over to a street project for the year that's happening. That same thing would happen right here. These funds year after year would be used more proactively to keep on top of the sewage maintenance. And then on a year there's a street project, could be incorporated into that if necessary. Thanks.
So I think, Mr. Murphy, I think the best thing to do, and I'll see if anybody else has any comments or questions, but I think Mr. Demers is right. I think maybe that was kind of the point I was trying to make too, is, what have we looked at, why, laid out, and, what's going to be, how it's going to be used, and what options do we have if it's going to go on the bill, if it's going to be on the property tax, how's that going to look? I think we as a council probably need to make sure that we see that, and take a look at it. And I appreciate you guys been meeting and looking at this and trying to figure out how to do it. I think I'd feel comfortable to asking you to move forward and have us take a look at it. That's my point.
thank you. We can put together that comparison. Certainly.
Anybody else have anything? Nobody else has anything, sir? Any other questions, Mr. Murphy or Carly, need from us or on that? Okay.
I believe we have our direction.
Yep, I think we have what direction you want from us, so thank you.
Entertain a motion to adjourn. Moved by Demers.
Second.
Second by Johnson. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion is carried. Meeting is adjourned.